Well, the subject of divorce was difficult in Jesus' day as it is in ours, and it's been complex in the whole of human history. What should be, in theory, a beautiful relationship between a man and a woman consummated in holy matrimony has, for some, become a battleground, a source of immense pain, disappointment, and has led to divorce. 1 in 3 marriages that are taking place these days have prenuptial agreements in place because there's an anticipation this could go wrong. And while I think most people set out on their wedding day with the expectation that everything's going to go right and they're all going to live happily ever after, the reality is there. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, Moses gives prescription that if a woman has been divorced and then she marries again, and the second time she is divorced, that she is not free to return to her first husband. But what were the grounds of divorce? This is the verse, Deuteronomy 24:1. If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him and he finds something indecent. The words for something indecent, it just means a dirty thing. And therefore the rabbis in the time around Jesus had a range of definitions. Hillel was quite liberal. He said it could be this, that, or the other. It could even be burning the dinner. Whereas Shammai was a lot more strict. He said it was unchastity or adultery. And Jesus comes down in favour of the latter. Interestingly, Paul, later on in 1 Corinthians 7, adds if a believer is married to an unbeliever and the unbeliever leaves, desertion, that's grounds for divorce. But those are the two kind of main areas, sexual immorality or desertion. Jesus says, I tell you, anyone who divorces his wife except for marital unfaithfulness causes her to commit adultery, and anyone who marries a woman so divorced commits adultery. So Jesus is definitely looking to uphold the dignity of marriage. Now, the Roman Catholic Church turned marriage into a sacrament, which kind of gave it an eternal spiritual reality, indissolubility. But I think that's going too far, and the reformers in the 16th and 17th century rejected that interpretation of the ideal of marriage. Marriage is a prophetic picture of Christ and his church, but the ideal so often falls short in the actual. And Jesus looks to the ideal in Matthew 19 by going back to creation and says, as it was at the beginning, the two become one flesh. A man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife. And it's this beautiful picture. I think Jesus is always wanting to paint the picture of how marriage should be rather than simply giving a rule or a concession for divorce. But if you're in difficulty with your marriage, talk to somebody. There are ways through. There are ways of forgiveness. There is no command to divorce. There's grounds that permit divorce, but never that require it. However, it's a complex situation. There are many sensitivities. If you're facing difficulties, talk to somebody that you can trust. Get help. And if you know people who are going through marital difficulties, then pray for them, encourage them. It's not unusual. Most marriages experience times of tension and difficulty and sometimes great crisis. But that doesn't mean to say it's all over. God can work miracles in our relationships and restore joy where there's mourning and bring a fresh start where there are difficult circumstances.